Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today guys, we will be reading chapter 3 of Pet Trouble, Mud, Puddle, Poodle. And guys, I hope you're gonna enjoy this book. Corgi Power, yeah. It's the Corgi Power. You cannot see this, please. You're not allowed to see this. Bam, bam, bam. Yeah. Yeah, guys, you're not allowed to see what stuff that's down there. But anyways, guys, let's get started into chapter 3. Chapter 3. We were lucky. Well, I was lucky. My brothers didn't think it was so great. My mom found a notice in the local newspaper from a woman whose pet poodle had puppies 3 months before. She called, and there was still one puppy left. Better, she was a girl puppy, which was what I wanted. We were able to go meet her the very next afternoon. Oliver decided not to come. He was acting all above us. He didn't really want a dog anyway. He went for a bike ride with Mira instead. Carlos stayed home too. He said he had to study for an exam. This was probably a lie since there aren't a lot of big tests in the third week of school, but whatever. Since it was just me and Danny and Miguel. I didn't have to sit in the back of the minivan. The woman who answered the door said her name was Belinda. She had really short red hair, and she was just like she'd just been jogging. She seemed really pleased to see us, and she told my mom and Dad about 50 times that poodles are great pets for a family with kids. We followed her into the living room, where a little plastic fence was set up in the corner. Inside the fence were a couple of stuffed toys, a water bottle, I said water bottle. A water bottle. No, it's a water bowl and a fluffy dog cushion. On top of the cushion was a bundle of white fur. At first, it took me a second to figure out what it was looking at. I had a very clear image in my head: the pretty toy poodle nose and leg puffs and perfect tail. She would be pure snowy white, but this pile of fur had streaks of honey and tan colors in it too, and it was all fluffiness. Fluffy, fluffy, fluffy. Then it moved, and I realized there were 2 dogs inside. The mother and the puppy. Inside the fluff, the mother, the pup, and the puppy. The mother looked up at us, and I realized she didn't have a proper poodle haircut at all. All her fur was the same length, fluffing out around her head and body, and the cat was exactly the same in miniature. She let out this tiny yip when she saw us. I could see her little pink tongue as she yawned. She tumbled off the pillow and came stumbling over to our feet. Belinda moved the fence, and we all sat down on the carpet. The puppy blinked big black eyes at us. She kind of swayed in place, like she wasn't sure what to do first. Then she shook her head, crouched, and charged at Danny. Only she was too little or too sleepy to run straight, so she wobbled off, of course, and ended up tripping over his sneaker. Yip! She protested, flopping over sideways. She spotted Danny's shoelace and pounced on it, like it was responsible for tipping her. She got the shoelace between her little teeth and dragged it backward, gurring and snurfing and batting it with her tiny paws. "Hey," Danny said, trying to get it away from her. She promptly jumped on his hand. The funniest thing was that she was so tiny. She was only about the size of Danny's hand, but she went ahead and bravely attacked it anyway. But she didn't try to bite it. She had her mouth open and kept going, "Arr, arr," while she wrestled with his fingers. I caught Danny hiding a smile. "She's really small," my gal said disapprovingly. "Will she get bigger? She'd probably be about the size of Muffin here when she's fully grown," Belinda said, pointing to her mother. Muffin was lying on the red cushion with her eyes fixed on the puppy. She looked small enough for me to carry easily, a little smaller than my friend Peepa's cat, Mr. Pudge, so at least one thing was perfect. But I didn't understand why they looked so shaggy. Would it be rude to ask? What if some poodles just grew that way? I couldn't remember reading about different kinds of poodle fur. Finally, I said, "But why doesn't she look like a poodle?" Belinda said. "I'm thinking about the poodles you see on TV." I nodded. "That's a particular kind of cut, which it is normal for poodles in competition. For Muffin, who's our pet, we just let her cut grow naturally and trim it every few months. And of course, this one's just a puppy. If you want to give her a competition cut when she's older, you can do it. Let me give you her pedigree papers while I'm thinking of it," she said to Mom and Dad. They went into the kitchen and left us with the dogs. The puppy still hadn't come over to say hi to me. I thought she'd sit in my lap as soon as she saw me. I thought maybe she would lick my fingers delicately a few times and then curl up and fall asleep. Instead, she started running in giddy, staggering circles around Danny. She kept tripping over her paws and doing little somersaults on the rug. She bounced up, blinking and looking around like she was trying to catch whoever was doing that to her. "Come here, Princess," I said, holding out my arms to her. "Oh no," Danny said. "Princess, are you serious?" I ignored him. "Come on, puppy. Come on, little princess." She took a few steps toward me, looking up at me with those enormous eyes, and then she pounced on my hands. Her claws were sharper than I expected. "Ow!" I yelped, pulling my hands back. Delighted, she chased after it and pounced again. I held my hands over my head, where she couldn't reach them. So then she tried to climb up my lap, up my knees. She made it onto my lap. I braced her front paws on my favorite pink t-shirt and leaned up toward my face. Her fluffy tail was swinging back and forth ecstatically. Her little pink tongue snuck out and licked my chin. "Aw," I said, putting my arms around her and hugging her. "Yep," she squealed, scrambling out of my arms and onto my shoulder. Before I knew what she was doing, she buried my nose into my hair, snuffling through my black curls. Suddenly, she dug her tiny paws into my shoulder and hurled herself at my pink hair ribbon. "Eek!" I yelped as the puppy went tumbling down my back, yanking on my hair as she fell. She had my ribbon clutched between her two front paws, and now she rolled away from me, picked it up in her teeth, and galloped back to Danny. Danny was actually laughing now. Even Miguel looked somewhat amused. "Princess," I said, "give that back." The puppy was thoroughly delighted with herself. She pranced around Danny, bouncing out of reach when he tried to catch her. Her fluffy honey and white fur made her look like a little polar bear or a baby seal flopping around. Does it have to be Princess? Danny pleaded. You got to pick the dog. Shouldn't we get to pick her name? No, I said. I know my brother's Fuzz, suggested Miguel. Twinkle Toes, suggested Danny. Marshmallow, Fluff, Foo-Foo to Snoo, Senorita Fancy Pants, Lady Snooty McSnooter Fluff of the Waterford, McSnooter Fluff's Paperweight Kickball. Danny, I yelled. Danny, I yelled. No, she doesn't look like a Danny, my brother said, pretending to look at the dog thoughtfully. Stop it, I said. Her name is Princess. Her eyes look like black buttons, Miguel said. Buttons! Danny cried. The puppy leaped to her paws and scrambled into Danny's lap. She likes it, he said. She tried to climb up his arms to get up to his face. He picked up with both hands, and around her little chest, she let her lick his nose. Her tail was going bananas again. Oh no, maybe she did like the name Buttons. At least it was better than Lady McSnooterfin or Kickball. But what about my perfect little princess? Mom and Belinda came back into the room. Mom saw Danny holding the puppy and gave me a thumbs up and behind the back, but that wasn't the point at all. Princess was supposed to like me best, and her name was supposed to be Princess. Chapter 4. Belinda gave us a dog towel and smell of muffin to wrap around the puppy so she'd have something familiar in her new home. The puppy wriggled a lot as Belinda wrapped her up, but finally she lay still and Belinda put her gently in my arms. A tiny ball of fluff blinked up at me. She was so wrapped up, all you could see was her little fluffy face. Her eyes and nose did kind of look like buttons, like shiny black buttons braided in a pile of white feathers. She looked like she was smiling at me. She scooted a little forward, motoring her paws inside a towel. I licked my arm, where she could reach it. Maybe it wasn't so important to call her Princess. I thought about it on the way up to the car. I sat in the far back with the puppy, while Danny and Miguel took the middle seat. Then they were trying not to act too interested, but they kept twisting around to look at her. You might want to put her on the floor, Mom said to me. This is her first car ride. No, I said. I want her to be in my lap. Mom shrugged. Okay, fingers crossed. At least it isn't far. The puppy rolled around inside the towel as I put my seatbelt on. She was making these cute yippee sounds and trying to flail into the towel off to her, but she just got herself more tangled. I slid herself and the towel onto my lap. She managed to wriggle out from her paws, and she batted at my wrist as the car pulled out of the driveway. Shh, I said, smoothing down the fluff on the top of her head. She gazed up at me with her tongue hanging out. Her tiny chest went up and down as she panted. Sure licks a lot, and he suggested, hanging over the back of his seat. She's a girl, I reminded him. Sarah just Parker. Okay, that actually sounds so good. Miguel offered. Super Fluff. I love that name, Super Fluff, said Danny. Paris Hilton, said Miguel. Okay, that's just dumb, I said to him. Danny opened his mouth. Okay, I yelled, cutting him off. We can call her Buttons. Yeah, Buttons, Danny said. He and Miguel were fighting about it. It's still lame to have a small dog, Danny said. Yeah, my gal said. I hope the girls at my school don't see it. Buttons is not an it. She's a her, I said, and please, as if any of the girls you like would date you anyway. Kids, settle down. My dad's still peering at us in the rear mirror. My gal was about to make a smart aleck remark back at me when suddenly she stopped and gave Buttons a horrified look. What she's doing? Buttons and her front paws braced against my thigh. She was making a sound in her throat like burr, burr. Buttons, no! I shrieked, grabbed her to move up all over me, the car seat, and my favorite pink t-shirt. Mom! I wailed. That's what I was afraid of, Mom said grimly. We pulled into our driveway, and Mom ran inside to get cleaning supplies. Help me, I said to Danny. He shrugged. I thought you said she was your dog. Danny, take the dog into the backyard, my dad said. Danny made a face, but he lifted the towel and the puppy off of me. Guys, do you know what happened? The dog got carsick and barfed on Rosie. Holding them out in my arm's length, he carried them around the house and into my backyard. Mom made me clean up the car seat. She said we needed to learn that taking care of a puppy that amount to clean up. I consoled myself that this would have been much more gross with a Rottweiler. Come on, kid, Dad said to me when I was done. I'll spray you off in the backyard. I ran around the house while he pulled out the hose. Carlos had come outside too, and he was standing, and Danny and Miguel, they were all looking down at something and laughing, which is usually a bad sign of my brothers. What's so funny? I said, coming down a small pink Alesia bush. Her face and paws were covered in dirt. It looked like she had been trying to dig her way to New Zealand. Rough, she announced gleefully and barreled over to me. Oh, no, you don't, I said, backing up. You already ruined this shirt. Leave my jeans alone. But it was too late. Buttons jumped up and planted her little paws on my legs. She scrambled and leaped like she was trying to climb me. Squeaking excitedly, her little paws flapped and her nose went poke, poke, poke against my knee. My jeans were instantly patterned with little brown paw prints. Then Dad hit me with a huge blast of water from behind. I shrieked and Buttons went wild with excitement. She galloped around in a frenzy, leaping at the water drops and toppling over and skidding on the wet grass with her tiny paws. Dad, I hollered, you're going to get her all wet. But it was too late. Chapter 5. Let's see how long this chapter is. Who cares? Anyways, guys, we are going to end this video right here. And guys, I hope you enjoyed this, these two chapters. And this chapter has, about 16 chapters, I guess, I think. I think it has 6 chapters. Let me check. Let me check if it does. Yeah, it has 16 chapters. Anyway.